Hi, everybody. Matt Lawton here, and this is the Astrological Winds channel. I'm going to take a look today at the astrological weather report for the week of February 26th through March 3rd. And I'm also going to take a look at the month of March, get them both in today. And just a couple quick reminders before I get into that. The Astrological Winds channel is a free video blog that I've been doing on YouTube for several years now, on podcasts before that and written form before that. And if you're if you have a YouTube account and you like what you see, please become a follower. Um, and if you do, remember to turn your notifications on so you know when the blog comes. And like I said, it's a free service, so I would really appreciate it if you can find somebody to pass the link on to after you're done today, and that helps me have the blog grow in an organic word of mouth way, which I really like that process. So I appreciate that. And remember, it is still on podcast too. So if you don't want to watch the video, which you really don't have to, it's really what I'm saying that's important. Just look it up on your favorite podcast. Buzzsprout puts it out there, and about 20 of them pick it up. So you just look up Astrological Winds channel. You should be able to find it on one of them. And it's also available on Instagram. Astrological Winds channel has its own page on Instagram. So if you have an Instagram account, please become a follower there. You'll see it come up in the newsreel, the link. And once in a while, I do post some extra information on certain days on Instagram when I see a lot of activity, and it's always in comment form. It's not a video or audio form, so something you can read really quick. I also post the link on my Facebook account, which is private. You can friend me at Matthew with two T's, Lawton, Lauten, and it'll come up in your newsreel every week. But the best place to find it, if you don't have the YouTube account, is right on my website. That's www.astrologicalwinds.com, and it's embedded right there. It'll take you right over to the YouTube. And remember, please support me if you can. If you ever need a professional reading, all the information you need is also on the website. Talk to me, open up a dialogue. We can work with your budget, whatever it may be. If you'd like to give a donation of currency to the blog, which some of you do, and I really do appreciate that when you do, folks. Really do appreciate. You know who you are. I have my Venmo handle is at the symbol A with the circle around, and then Matthew with two T's and a hyphen in the middle, and then it's Lauten, Matthew Lawton. I'll get a little more into details of that, but like everything like that is on that website. So just check it out, www.astrologicalwinds.com. Remember, if you're not very familiar with astrological terms, that you want to hear the interpretation of what I'm saying, not so much get caught up on the terms and miss the point of the energy of the week. All of us can use the energy of this week if we know what's going on and kind of help shape it to what's best for us. Okay, definitely heard the external mics are working way better. Really appreciate the feedback. Really appreciate the donation of the microphones. So thanks for all that. I will continue to work on improving the blog as time goes on. Anyway, let's look at, this week's got some interesting stuff going on. The biggest thing of the week is there's a triple conjunction of the Sun, Mercury, and Saturn all in Pisces tomorrow on Tuesday, but there's a few other things too. And then there's a couple things in the month of March that I'd like to mention too. So I'll just get it all together in this one blog. So it all starts, the week's activities start really up tomorrow, Tuesday, when Mars squares Jupiter. And when Mars and Jupiter get together, it's about a lot of energy. It's like firecracker kind of energy. It's like lit up energy. We really want to take off and do things. We want to bring more into our life, more experience, more life itself. So we're very activated, we're very energized, right? And we're very positive about that too. The problem is that we can easily off the handle with this energy. It's kind of like almost an unbridled enthusiasm, if especially if we haven't taken care of the steps that are necessary to actually get the success or results we want when we take these actions. So it's really important about this aspect is to actually slow down and to take a look around before you move forward, because there's just so much energy to push. There's this exuberant, zealous energy to push ahead that we can get take off without really looking into what we're doing. And so we can get mistake prone, we can get sloppy, and we may not get the results that we were hoping to get. And what ends up happening is we end up spending a lot of time having to do do-overs and correcting a lot of the mistakes. So if we can just slow ourselves down first, that's what's required. The problem is there's a lot of ego involved when Mars and Jupiter square together like this. There's a lot of just really wanting to be out there for ourselves and push, push, push. So, what's interesting about it too is that Mars is also semi square Neptune at the same time. And that can bring, to me, what that means in combination with the Mars Jupiter square, and this is a semi square, so it's not as strong, is that when things don't go the way we want, we may try to continue to push it anyway to try to make up for things by doing things that are kind of out of alignment, wonky, even devious, deceptive, underhanded. Like all of a sudden, what I wanted, I kind of messed up on, and now I'm going to try to do like some underhanded, weird things to try to straighten it out. And that'll only make the situation worse. If you think you're going to be able to compensate that way, most likely what you're going to do is just create a lot of misunderstandings and a lot of lost energy. And really, the only solution to success with this energy is to slow down and really take a look at what you need to do to proceed before you do. And if you can do that, then you can actually have a lot of success. You can get a lot done over these first couple days or so of this week if you know how to balance that energy well. It's just not going to be the easiest thing because, like I said, there's a lot of ego involved. There's a lot of just exuberant desire to push ahead and really looking at the future and working now frenetically to try to get the results you want for the future. So it really can get sloppy and mistake prone like that. Okay, Wednesday is the big day of the week. The biggest event of the week is when the sun and Mercury, both in Pisces, conjunct one another. This is the superior conjunction because it's Mercury is no longer retrograde. So this is a time normally where we really push our ideas out there, new ideas that we subjectively have. Our thought processes are very subjective when Sun Mercury is together. We're not really very receptive to a lot of information coming in. We really want to communicate it out. It's a beginnings time because it is a conjunction. So we may be full of new ideas, and especially with Mercury in the mind. So it's a very subjective thinking. And it's really about wanting to communicate what we're thinking and our ideas are out to others. So it's a little bit one-way street that way. And it's really good for new ideas, new projects, new business ventures, things like that. But we're definitely streamlined on what we want to do. And then you get the Saturn involved too. And it's like it can really throw a bucket of cold water on a lot of those ideas, that cold water being reality. And so here's the issue I really think with this triple conjunction. It's in Pisces. And all three of these planets really don't function at their most optimum in Pisces. Obviously, I talked about Mercury last week going into Pisces and how it's the weakest sign by tradition for Mercury to go into. It's in detriment and fall. And it's because the intellect, which is what Mercury represents, is muddied down or watered down the most in Pisces. And it is not clear. It's not thinking in like concrete ways. It's very abstract. It's very much out there and impressionist and kind of following its feelings. So Mercury doesn't really like that very much. And the sun, the same thing with the sun, really. The sun is more about you, us, me, right? And Pisces is the sign that's the least about me, uh, you, that it's the energy of diffusing that kind of energy. So, like a lot of times, once again, the sun's energy can be very diffused by Pisces, especially in the real world. And then you get Saturn. I talked about Saturn going into Pisces several months ago and how it struggles in Pisces because Saturn's all about structure, form, solid, concrete things. And Pisces is not. Pisces is about washing that stuff away, if anything. And then there's the extra difficulty of Pisces being a dualistic sign, which we see really happening in our society with Saturn being a societal planet, about how there's at least two different belief systems pulling at seemingly every society, culture, and group right now about how to approach things. And that's what's going on here. So that makes that structure and form and solidity that Saturn is seeking get watered down. There's at least two directions that we're going in. And even though Saturn's trying to bring everything together, you know, it's stuck on belief systems that are actually pulling things apart. So all three of these planets struggle, is my point, in Pisces. And here, we're going to want to, like, what I think's really going to happen here is that, people are feeling a lot of restriction in their life, a lot of limitation in life, and seeing that going on. And they're going to shut down a lot of their emotions and keep them inside. It's not that we're not feeling emotional. And when all this stuff is in Pisces, we are. But we don't really, well, I don't think we're going to communicate it very well. And if we do try to communicate it, it's misunderstood a lot. It's too not concrete. It's too subjective. It's too coming from a place where, it's really hard to get mutual understanding from. So we have all those issues going on with that Pisces energy. And yet we want some kind of precision. We want something that works. Those three planets really want that. So what I really think is going to happen is we're going to fall into that trap of the belief systems of Pisces, trying to hold on to the beliefs that we really believe in to get through these times where things aren't really working out for us. And what that does is it has us get very rigid and fanatical about our beliefs, and can adopt an us versus them attitude. Now, look at society right now. You can see this is going on across society in so many different ways, between different countries, different religions, different cultures, different ways of doing business, just different approaches and values. It's like, and everybody is trying to, believe that their system is the right one. But by doing that, they're trying to control ones that are outside that. So this is really the big danger of this conjunction, is that we're going to get fanatical and try to hold on to these old belief systems. There's a lot of sensitivity and we're feeling it inside, but we don't really want to bring it outside. What we want to try to do instead is control the outside with these three other things. And so this can, be very, can be a very frustrating time, because it can feel like what we are trying to do is being restricted majorly. Now, what is the best thing to do with this energy? It's actually great energy to look in detail at anything we're doing and try to find where it's wrong, where it's off, where there's mistakes, where there's flaws, where there's weak points. Comb through that stuff, and we have the ability to correct it now. So this can actually help with even that Mars Jupiter, the day before, where it can slow that stuff down. And then maybe we can use some of that Mars Jupiter energy to, move forward. But that's really the only way we can succeed in this energy. If we're going to go down the route of latching on to our belief system, then we're going to create a lot of duality, a lot of struggle for ourselves, which we see reflected in the world. And a lot of our actions are going to feel like they're blocked, restricted. It's going to feel depressing to the mind and get us down. And we may get fanatical about what we're trying to push on others, try to control others. So we really, really need to take that energy instead and look at the way we're approaching things and find out where we're making mistakes and make those corrections. Use the details, be very fine-tuned with this stuff. Those three planets together can do that and help overcome some of that Pisces diffusion of energy. The thing is, what'll be interesting about that is if you can handle it well, the next day, a couple days, Thursday and Friday, the Sun and Mercury still traveling together, sextile Jupiter right away. So this will bring some openness. This will bring some opportunities. This will reset our attitude and get us positive again. If we can correct some of these mistakes, get ourselves aligned, not go off in directions where we're creating more problems, then we can start to get opportunities instead. We can open things up. We can, become more optimistic, take more in a way, create a positive feedback loop of good luck, really, of bringing in, good things to ourselves, of bringing in opportunities to connect with others, opportunities to enlarge the way we look at things, business opportunities, things like that. The ability to get great planning and foresight done. So I think we could work with these three different energies together this week really well, even though all three of them have their challenges. They're the three, all three of them are going to challenge us, but they can be worked with if we take the detailed parts of Sun, Mercury, Saturn and apply that to the Pisces energy, to the Mars, Jupiter energy, and also to the energy of the Sun, Mercury with sextile Jupiter. All that stuff can create a balance together if we take care of the flaws and the mistakes that we see. We can get aligned and then bring some good stuff in, bring some opportunities in, bring some future oriented energy that will pay off for us, and get some business deals done, get some negotiations done, get some opportunities acted upon that are helpful and beneficial in the future. Now, interesting, there's a couple other things going on this week I wanted to mention too. Also on Friday, this is very interesting, positive one. Venus sextiles both Chiron and the North Node. It's actually on the midpoint. They're going to conjunct. So it's going to sextile one after the other. So this is very helpful for relationships. We can get a lot of healing through relationships. And it is a time when we can make new connections that are very, very beneficial for our future. It's very karmic type connections that we can make right now. It's meant to bring us to new places. So, and this can be in a group format with the North Node. A lot of times it is that and it can bring healing energy into our life with the Chiron involved there too. And it also could be soulmate kind of contact where that you realize a certain person in your orbit is someone that you have this really deeper connection to, and it's going to bring an opportunity. They're both sextiles to deepen that connection even more and can bring very healing, loving energy into your life. So this is something to look for. There's, really a possibility either in a group or with a person where going into relationship with them can bring some very healing energy, bring a lot of learning about life, and also can also make new connections based around our talents and skills and our artistic ability. So we may make new connections with groups or others that way too, like maybe some kind of group projects that bring a lot of like sense of well-being to us and the others involved in the group. So very, very interesting energy how this may play out for you, like finding either a group or someone that you're really deeply connected with and supposed to be on this road of destiny or dharma together. And it can be a very healing thing for your souls to be involved with one another on that level. Now, on Sunday, there's a Venus square Uranus, which is kind of almost the opposite of this other Venus stuff. This is when relationships that are unstable can really, break down and break apart. Things blow up in relationships. The good thing about that is where everyone now has a clear understanding of where things are at. The negative thing about it is you may realize that there's certain relationships you just can't deal with anymore. A lot of this is it's a rebellious energy too. So like a lot of times it's our older relationships that we will rebel against, that we want some kind of new experience, new people, different kind of people in our life, and that can go for art too, with Venus or creativity. Like we may find some new avenues of expression, but there's a lot of like, just like this explosive energy behind it that, is really seeing change occurring and is like being spurred on by that. Be careful with money too. And Venus squares Uranus, you may get a little too impulsive and spend large amounts of money on in a small amount of time and realize it was probably something that was a little too whimsical later and possibly regret it. So be a little bit careful with that. But it's really about seeking out new experiences within relationships. And if you can't get that with people that you already have relationships with, you're going to rebel against them and seek it out with others. And if you can get that from people that you do have relationships with, and it can be a very exciting new ground that you're breaking together. So very interesting energy there. So there's just a couple things in March. Got a few minutes still here, and I don't feel like I have to do a full March blog. There's just a couple things in March that are going on that I want to mention that, when I do the monthly, it's all about the long-term planets, Jupiter on what they're doing, and with each other. And so there's not a lot of activity in March. The one thing I want to remind everybody is that March is the last month that all the planets are going direct. So, like I've said before, full speed ahead with your project, but you also notice the frenetic energy of the world the last month or two since all the planets have been direct. So it's good to have some planets retrograde, is my point at times, because it gets us a little self-reflective. Sometimes it's kind of like the train barreling down the track without brakes with all that energy direct, and it can end up in some wrecks. And we can see in the world, the energy is so pushing forward. There's been a lot going on the last month or two in world events that are, very frenetic, one thing after another. And that really is reflective of all those planets being direct. And the first one that's going to go retrograde in early April is going to be Mercury too. So believe me, when that happens, we are really going to get a good look at what's gone on the last 2 or 3 months and be like, whoa, we've got some processing to do, right? But anyway, two things I wanted to mention besides all those planets being direct. On March 3rd, which is actually this week, on Sunday, Jupiter is semi-square Neptune. This is very fitting too for what's going on in the world right now. Jupiter is a societal planet. Neptune's one of the outer planets that have an agenda that's beyond just, our Earth and this galaxy. It's a transpersonal planet. It's about evolution and bringing in change to the whole planet Earth. And when Jupiter, they're both very, faith-based, religious, spiritual, imaginative, idealistic planets. And when they're in a semi square, there's a lot of confusion going on, a lot of confusion over values. And once again, we see this playing out in society, people latching on to a certain religious or whatever value system and not being able to, like, allow tolerance in, kind of getting very faith driven, very blind faith driven, not allowing other people into the tent, and then pushing those ideals. And then semi square shows all you're going to get is frustration. If you think that's going to work, what you're going to get in the real world is frustration, because your ideals are actually irrelevant at this point to reality. Sorry, they're irrelevant to reality. It's not what's going on out there. And all you're doing is creating more confusing energy, and you're creating a sense of loss within yourself, and you're being actually very impractical about the way the world is. Anybody who thinks that you can push your ideals on everybody else, even the people around you, you're way off base. And that's what this aspect's going to show us. And it's going to show us on a societal level. And it is. We've got religious war going on all over the place. We've got political war going on all over the place. We've got people against people because they're from different cultures, belief systems. And you know what? Everybody's suffering because of it. Everyone is frustrated because we're going to the lower energy vibe of this as a race together right now. We're not having the compassion and understanding and tolerance and openness that Jupiter and Neptune have on a higher level. But the semi-square shows we're stuck. We're misguided. And right now we're not worthy, or we don't think we're worthy of getting that energy. We give our power away to authorities. We give our religious beliefs and political beliefs away to authorities and ask them to dictate to us what's going on. And they get narrow-minded, they get misguided, they get blind faithed and one-eyed. And that's what we've allowed ourselves to do. And we're reaching a really peak energy time of this. And so the realization for all of us is, no, your ideals are not fitting into reality right now. And that means they require adjustment. They're not working, right? That your religious, spiritual ideals, if you're trying to push them on others, you're going to get a lot of frustration. This is a time to self-reflect and bring that back in and open up and have tolerance for others instead. That's what the times require. And since we're not doing it, we get the frustration of that on a societal level. And until we learn to start being more tolerant of one another and having different beliefs and really believe in freedom of religion and things like that, that we supposedly profess that we believe in, but very few people actually act like that, right? This is what's going to happen, continue to happen. And you're going to feel it inside, a lot of sense of loss, and you're going to see it outside with fanaticism, religious war, people not being able to hear or tolerate one another. If that's the world we want, we'll continue to do that, right? And what's interesting is the other aspect this month really shows what may happen when we get too single-minded like that. The North Node is going to conjunct Chiron in Aries on March 9th. And to me, the nodal axis is all about karma and dharma, you know? And Chiron's all about wounding and pain and the lessons we're learning. This is really showing right now that, society right now is wounding itself, hurting itself, allowing individuals, Aries, who are very strong-armed, to continue to dictate what's going on to the group, North Node, and hurting all of us in the process of doing that, Chiron. So the question is, when are we going to allow this to stop? I said when the North Node and Chiron both went into Aries the last couple of years or so, everyone is going to be responsible for their own healing and self. If we continue to give our power to people that we perceive as strong and expect them to resolve our problems, they're going to continue to hurt us. That's what this aspect's about. I would not be surprised if we have some really big events around that time in the world that have to do with war, people making horrible decisions for groups and populations. I mean, we see it going on every day, but it's probably going to reach some kind of apex, right? I mean, it can even be natural disasters, shared large scale disaster stuff, you know? And once again, what is this trying to tell us? It's trying to tell us that each of us have a unique talent, and we need to recognize that in ourselves first and heal ourselves first so that we can bring that talent to the group and the world and then find some new adventures together. But the first new adventure is to fix the everyday existence that we have right now, both on our individual self and then for the world. That's what Aries needs to do. Instead of thinking that the answer is on the other side of the hill and it needs to conquer that. It needs to conquer its own ability to deal with what's going on right now, both in our individual lives and in society. This is going to be a calling for that. And if we don't handle it right, it can be a very painful lesson again. And more likely than not, there's going to be a lot of people who don't handle it right based on what's going on in the world. All right, that's what I got for March. Not a lot of going on that month, but definitely a couple really interesting things to look at. And if we want things to, change, we have to look at that stuff in ourselves first and stop relying on others to do that for us and thinking that society will figure it out, because it's not going to happen if we continue to do that. All right, this is Matt Lawton. This is the Astrological Winds channel. This is a free video blog that I've been doing for years. It was audio before that. It's available on YouTube. If you have a YouTube account, please become a follower. Turn on your notifications and you'll know when it's there. It's also available on all kinds of podcasts. Just look up Astrological Winds channel, Instagram, ditto. And the best way to find the link is on my website, www.astrologicalwinds.com. That also has all the information about professional readings that I've been doing for over 20 years after 7 years of formal training. And I'd really love to do your chart or someone that you know who's looking for that kind of service. All the services are listed on the website. Start a dialogue with me about it. I can work with your budget too. If you have issues with that, just, can't hurt to ask. So just check that out. If you'd like to give a donation to the blog, at Matthew-Lawton is my Venmo handle, and appreciate that. And like I said, please, please, please turn the link on to somebody else right now. That is the best way you guys can pay me back. For everybody who's been supporting the blog in any other way, appreciate you so much. And next week, we're going to get a new moon in Pisces at 21 degrees next Sunday. So that will be a big part of next week's vlog. Hope to all see you all again then. Please pass it on.